Hey there friends, Josh from Joshua Lappin Fitness here, and we are back again for another segment of Ask Josh. In these segments we are answering questions that our fans and the hard gainer community have regarding different training, different methods, and whatever comes up particularly that you need help with. So today we're going to just answer the general question that we get a lot, and that is how to gain mass for skinny guys. All right, we did a previous video on this earlier on just how to gain weight in general, but gaining muscle mass for skinny guys is more of a specific question. So I'll get into a little bit more detail here than we usually do with kind of general questions. In order to gain muscle mass as a skinny guy, you have to complete certain requirements. Probably the first and number one requirement that you have to do is you have to examine your diet and make sure that you're getting the adequate amount of nutrition, specifically calories, that come mainly from protein and carbohydrates. So one of the problems that skinny guys typically face is that they have a high metabolism, and the high metabolism burns so many calories that typically you don't have any left to build muscle. It takes calories to build additional muscle, so to do that you got to have sufficient calories. So I'm going to drop a link to a calculator where you can kind of calculate your calories and kind of see where you need to be. Once you figure out where you need to be as far as how many calories a day you need to intake to maintain your body weight, what you need to do is to start adding I would say somewhere between 100 and 200 calories per day, and experiment with that over the course of a couple of weeks and see what kind of results you get. And if you're still seeing that you're not beginning to gain weight, including using the other techniques that I'm mentioning here, then continue to add another 100 to 200 calories. You want to go slow because you want to add muscle mass and not add excessive amounts of fat. So that's why you want to do it slowly. And it's going to be a process. It's going to take some time and some experimentation to find out exactly what you need. But as far as your macronutrients, like I say, you are going to need to increase your protein intake. We're going to need to follow a relatively high protein diet. That's going to consist of generally about 1 gram of protein per whatever your body weight is. So for example, if you weigh 150 pounds, you need to consume approximately 150 grams of protein per day. You also need to follow a high carb diet. I recommend that you generally follow about the same as you would for a protein. So if your body weight is about 150 pounds, you need to get at least 150 grams of protein in per day as well. Preferably you want to get this nutrition from sources of whole foods. So protein, you're going to make sure you're eating a decent amount of meat, obviously, probably coming from chicken, eggs, cheese, milk, and throwing a little fish and beef in there as well if you can swing it. Also, you can throw in protein shakes as well, but just make sure that you're getting the majority of your protein intake from actual food and not supplements. There are other supplements available as well that may help. Generally, I drink a whey protein shake. You can experiment with, there's other kinds of non-dairy based proteins out there. There are egg proteins, there are actually beef proteins, there are plant proteins. But aside from that, maybe a good creatine supplement, possibly some aminos, those can help as well with the muscle building process. All right, so once you get your nutrition components straight, The next component you need to obviously do to gain muscle mass is to find an appropriate exercise program that will assist you in doing that. Now, if you're specifically looking for mass for skinny guys, which is probably going to indicate more of a hard gainer type of body, then you're going to want to use specific exercise programs that are best for the skinny guy or the hard gainer and best for putting on mass. These generally consist of compound exercises, bigger exercises, which would be things like bench and squat and deadlift, rows, chin-ups, mostly those, quite honestly. And you want to follow a good routine, probably something like a 5x5 routine, which is 5 sets and at 5 reps per exercise. And generally you would only do 2 to 3 exercises within a single workout. Skinny guys or hard gainers want to focus on doing major muscle groups, and you only want to do a limited number of sets per exercise or session or per workout. So generally speaking, I usually only do probably in the range of perhaps 10 to 15 sets per workout when I do the workouts. But if you're doing the major compound exercises and you're using progressive resistance, which means you're continually trying to add weight as you go throughout workouts, then this should be sufficient for you to accomplish your goals. Now, I'm not saying you can never do isolation exercises like, arm work, shoulder work, bicep curls, tricep extensions, flies, or anything like that, but you need to concentrate mostly on building that muscle mass, probably for at least a year or two. And if you're making good progress after that, then maybe you can start throwing in some other more isolation-based exercises. Quite honestly, my general rule is if your bench and your squats and your deadlifts are not over 200 pounds, then you don't need to worry about isolation exercises at all until you can do those consistently for at least 5 reps. So if you can bench and squat and deadlift 200 pounds for these 5 reps, then maybe it might be time to look at doing some isolation stuff. But until then, I would stick with those core exercises. I have in my at my website, I do have some more detailed information on various programs that I have found that work personally best for hard gainers. So if you want to check those out, those go into the very specific details of what you might be looking for as far as putting together a workout program with the different sets and reps and the days and stuff that you need to work out. Generally though, I recommend that the hard gainer doesn't work out more than 3 times per week. And a lot of times too, we're just doing full body workouts, or we're doing specific rotation of workouts. For example, one program I do is called Skinny to Strong. And in that program, we squat pretty much every workout. So at least 2 to 3 times a week we're squatting. And then we throw in once a week, like we'll do deadlifts, and once a week we'll do bench press and maybe some overhead press and some rows. But we generally squat almost every workout. The reason is because squat tends to promote muscle mass. You grow not only your legs, but there's other muscles that are included in that exercise, including your back and your shoulders and triceps and all kinds of other different things. So as a hard gainer or a skinny guy, you want to make sure that your exercise programs are actually intended to grow big muscles first. Little secret tip here, the majority of your muscle mass is in your legs and in your back. So if you have a program that focuses heavily on developing those, it'll get you about 2/3 of the way there. And in theory, If you have really strong legs and back, and if you worked hard on those, some of the other exercises tend to, or other muscle groups I should say, tend to come up as well. Another thing too you want to focus on is gaining strength. For that progressive resistance, trying to always add a little bit of weight to the bar, even if it's only a pound or two. That's something we talk about a lot on my community as well, is microplating, which is adding very small amounts of weight, 1 to 2 pounds per workout, and just continue to do that for as long as you can. And again, once you tend to strengthen the major muscle groups, such as the legs, the back, the chest, and the shoulders, the other muscle groups, smaller muscle groups like the arms, they tend to fill in or get bigger automatically. Another tip that really is very important for skinny guys or hard gainers is the rest and recovery. That's why I recommend that you only work out 3 times a week per max. And on some of my programs and other programs I'm sure as well, when you get to a certain intensity point, I actually go down to only working out twice per week because I just need extra time to recover from the workouts. So recovery is a very, very important, crucial concept and things that hard gainers need to be aware of. So you need to limit the number of times a week you're working out. You need to limit the number of sets you're doing. And you need to make sure that you're getting plenty of recovery in between those days of working out, which would include getting as much sleep as possible, 8 hours plus. If you can squeeze in a nap during the day, that's even better. And also do other things as well, like foam rolling, massage guns, and if you can even swing it, maybe seeing an actual massage therapist as much as you can, just to keep that muscle tissue fresh, keep the blood flowing, get the lactic acid out of it as quickly as possible. You're going to gain muscle mass for skinny guys. One thing you're going to have to do as well is to be very consistent and persistent. You've got to be very consistent with your diet. You've got to keep those calories where they need to be. You've got to keep that protein intake where it needs to be. You've got to stick with it religiously. You got to make sure you get those workouts in the gym. You know, sometimes you may not feel like doing it, but you got to get out there and get in the gym and get that stuff growing and going, because the muscles don't want to grow naturally. They want, your body doesn't want to carry excess muscle weight because it's more work for the body. That's more energy you got to expend because muscles consume energy, and that means more food you got to eat, and that's kind of against nature. So in order to keep growth going, especially for skinny guys or hard gainers, you got to be very consistent about your workouts, your recovery, and your nutrition. It's going to take a lot of hard work to gain muscle mass. It's not going to be an easy process, and it's something you're going to have to actually be very patient with. I see a lot of programs out there where they're like, you know, gain X amount of muscle weight in 6 weeks or 90 days or 3 months or whatever. Not saying those can't work, and not saying that some of them don't work, but any type of muscle building, especially for skinny guys, is going to take a lot of time and effort to do, and you got to have realistic expectations. So I generally recommend that people, if you really want to do this, it's going to take a couple of years really to get where you want to be. So I would say go ahead and accept that now and just have realistic expectations about what it's going to take and how long it's going to take. I mean, a lot of guys can pack on some pounds relatively quickly. Me personally, I usually can put on 10 plus pounds within 3 to 6 months of work. But after that, it really turns into consistent and persistent and slow progress. So don't be discouraged if you don't gain 25 pounds of muscle in 3 months, because that's really unlikely, especially for skinny guys and hard gainers. So those are just a few tips and thoughts that I had on the subject of how to gain muscle mass for skinny guys. Want to go ahead and wrap up the video. We're getting kind of long here, but if you want more detailed information, you can just visit my website, and I'll drop the link in the description, and you can get a lot more details on what I recommend and how I can help skinny guys to gain that muscle mass. So again, this has been Josh from Joshua Lappin Fitness. Best of luck to you, and please drop by the website and check it out and see if it can help you out.